Okay, so for the this topic in assignment 13.2, I have collected a bunch of questions that I feel like were all tricky because of their wording, mostly because they required you to translate words into math in some form or another. And these again are all the lowest success questions for y'all. Um, from both the calculator and no calculator section, starting with the no calculator section. Your learning is what's important at this point. If you need to use a calculator to solve this, go ahead, but just know that these two, questions 1 and 2, are on the no calculator section. So you will be required to do it without a calculator on the actual test day. If you can learn how to do it better using a calculator right now, go ahead. Um, I think we could spend a lot of time working on word problems. And I don't have a whole lot of time left to make videos today. So what I want to talk about right now is just some general strategies for dealing with words. And then I'm going to do another video where I solve as many of these as quickly as I can. And that will just be one video with all of the answers and some strategy discussion. So when you are dealing with wordy problems, draw them and write them in math. You are trying to translate this from the confusing words into a format that this makes more sense in. A drawing or an equation is a much better way to communicate a lot of math topics than paragraphs. And so, what are some basic translation strategies? Well, is means equals. Um, of course, you've got greater than, less than. At least is a sign for greater than or equal to, right? The smallest number it can be is the number they're telling you. At most is the opposite, less than or equal to. Uh, of is multiply. Sometimes less than and greater than actually mean plus or minus, because it would say 4 less than. That means minus 4. Um, in groups of means division. There's more. I'd say research online, translating word problems into equations, if you want to find more thorough lists. Um, but asking yourself, what would this mean in a math equation, can be really helpful. And then the other thing is, and I think that's the issue with question 1 right here, is sometimes they list things out of order on purpose. And so the things that you want to set equal to each other because of the order of the sentence are not actually mathematically true. So maybe test some numbers and maybe just argue with yourself, play devil's advocate. Not in a defeatist way. Don't go, oh, I probably got this wrong. Go, what if I was wrong? What would it look like if the number x represents 100? Does this still turn out true? Why or why not? So you have to be really precise and debate with yourself. I think might be a better word than argue. All right, let me do a quick scroll. The other thing is, I'm not sure we're comfortable with rate conversions. I think this question, it's a matter of going between Celsius and Fahrenheit. This question is a matter of going between meters per second and miles per minute. So we've got two-edged conversions. We know what all those things are, but it's a long process to keep track of. This also has some conversions. And it's in, I mean, you probably haven't learned about newtons, or if you have, it may have been a while ago. For me, that's the case. Uh, they give you enough information here to figure it out, even if you don't remember about newtons. So don't let the words scare you off. Look for exactly the math. And like one student said in our discussion post about this, um, you're trying to figure out which are the useless words and which are the useful ones. This is writing an equation out of the sentence. This one, graph the equations in Desmos. You will have a graphing calculator while doing this. Type it in. You might have to turn it into X and Y so that the calculator can use it, but type those in. And if it does this on the graph, that's exponential. If it does some other shape like this or a straight line, that's not exponential. It needs to go into a gradual growth curve that gets higher and higher, faster and faster. This one, very tricky, common algebra word problem. You have to get, you assign variables, write sentences, solve system. I think that might actually be the same thing for question 8. When I solved these two, I struggled a lot, and talking out loud about it helped me. Obviously, you can't do that during the test, but maybe have a text conversation with yourself. Write it out on the paper. Why I'm thinking this, but why that? What am I missing? If you can be very precise and explain exactly what you don't know, chances are you'll then figure out how to get the part you don't know. This one's weird, but similar thing. It's tricky. It's solvable though. This is asking if you can write an exponential growth equation. And there's a typo in it, but it's just of. I'll fix that. This one, it's a weighted average. I did not remember how to do a weighted average. I made a guess at it and I turned out to be right, and I'll show you in my longer video. Tricky here. There's so much extra information in these two questions. But basically, they're giving you an equation. You need to plug numbers into that equation and solve it for the situation we're looking at. And then in this one, the trouble here's the crux. If b is c minus 1/2 is what it says here. That you need to translate immediately. B equals C minus, and let's just do 0.5 since I'm typing. That is our secret. We now can plug that in here for B, and that should be enough to let us solve it, I think. Anyway, again, I'll show you that in my longer video. Okay, I think that's that for this video. What are the tips? Convert from English to math. Argue with yourself a little bit. Find the useless and the useful information. And lastly, don't sweat too much about these. Don't get hung up on one of these types of questions when you know it might be a weakness for you. Skip to the ones that you're solid on and then come back to these, because there's more questions than you really have time to answer. What matters is answering the ones you can. Good luck, you've got this.